Hello everyone, my name is Jeffrey Shew and I'm with the Shew Properties Realtor team. Now in this video, I'm here to talk to you guys today about the pre-construction condo process and what's gonna happen. I've created a PowerPoint to kind of give you guys a visual aspect of how the whole timeline is gonna work from signing to closing, paying your deposit structure, going to occupancy, going to closing, paying your closing fees. You can expect to hear about all that in this video. So let's get into it. So before I begin with the pre-construction timeline, what you have to understand when buying a pre-construction in the GTA market is that typically we see the pre-construction timeline for 3 to 4 years. Meaning that when you buy the pre-construction condo in GTA, typically it's going to take minimum 3 years, okay, to 4 years. And with delays, you can maybe see 6 years or 7 years by the time it finishes. So if you buy it today, and I think today is about October 14th, 2020, right? This condo could take 5 years. So it could be 2025 before it actually finishes building. It could be 2024, it could be 2026, This is typically the timeline to expect when investing in a pre-construction condo. Now, in this example, we have a few assumptions for this example, for this purchase, right? So the first assumption is that the purchase price is $1 million. The deposit structure is 22%, so $10,000 on signing, balance to 5% in 30 days, 5% in 90 days, 5% in 270 days, 5% in 540 days, and 2% on occupancy. I've seen 10% deposit structures, I've seen 15% deposit structures, I've seen 20% deposit structures, I've seen 22% deposit structures. Typically 25% is the most I've seen, where it goes 20% within 540 days, 5% on occupancy, 20% within 540 days, 2% on occupancy I see as well, but more often than not, the standard is 20% within 540 days. That is typically what is asked for, but in this example, we're using a 22% deposit structure. Mortgage interest rate is 3%. I think right now we're looking at 2% if you were to buy resale, but I've put this at 3% to give us a little bit more, safety net. The term we'll be using is 30 years. The loan amount, because the deposit structure is 22%, we're going to loan 78%. The maintenance fee, 65 cents per square foot. Property tax, $3,800 per year. Size is going to be 800 square foot, and we're expecting an occupancy of 4 years in June 2024. Now, let's get into the timeline. So this is the timeline, right? Here is the signing date. In this our example, it's October 9, 2020. And the $10,000 bank draft, you will need so for signing, what we would need to prepare is a $10,000 bank draft payable to the developer's lawyer, his trust account, and post-dated checks. So the post-dated checks would be the future deposit payments, and then the $10,000 bank draft is for the initial deposit. When you sign this paper on October 9th, 2020, on signing, you are not obligated to buy it right away. You actually have a 10-day cooling period to decide whether you want to buy it or not. So you have 10 calendar days to decide and say, hey, do I still want it or not? On the 9th day, October 18th, 2020, if you decide you don't want it, for whatever reason, you are able to cancel the deal and get a full refund. You'll get your $10,000 bank draft back as well as your post-dated checks. Okay, so on the 9th day, you have the you have the ability to cancel the deal and get a full refund. This is an Ontario law. Okay, so for any pre-construction condo, this is the way. Now, if you decide to buy a freehold house, Sometimes they may not have a 10-day cooling period, but a rule of thumb in my is always ask if there is a 10-day cooling period. If the house or condo has maintenance fee, then generally you're gonna get a 10-day cooling period. If the house doesn't have a maintenance fee, then most time you won't get a 10-day cooling period. Okay. Within these 10 days, it is advised to get legal advice. The contract that you will be signing is probably 60 to 80 pages long, and on the signing date, you will not have any time to read this contract. So this 10-day cooling period is for you to seek legal counsel. Also, within the 10-day cooling period, the developer will ask you to submit a mortgage pre-approval letter to them. This letter is just to say that you can get financing for this condo, and the developer needs this letter so that he can go to the bank and say, hey, I've got a bunch of purchasers who can actually finance this property, they can afford this property, and then the bank will give the developer their construction loan. So within the 10 days, they will need a mortgage pre-approval letter, and you should seek legal counsel within these 10 days to understand exactly what you are buying. Now, between the signing date and the occupancy of 2024, the only thing you have to really worry about, after you've done your legal advice and obtained the mortgage pre-approval letter, the only payment you actually have to worry about is the deposit structure. So in this case, it's going to be the 20% within 540 days. Okay, so with the purchase price being $1 million, we have to worry about $200,000 up to April 2nd of 2022. Oh, there's a small typo here, but this should be April 2nd, 2022. Okay, so $200,000 within 540 days. There will be no additional payments until occupancy. Once occupancy comes, June 15th, 2024, you will have to pay any additional deposit payments that you have agreed upon with the developer on occupancy. So if in this example, we've agreed to pay an additional 2% on occupancy, so that's what you have to pay, plus any legal fees to get the keys. And so in this example, you're paying an additional $20,500. Okay. On occupancy, you can actually obtain the keys. Okay, you get the right to live into the premises. You have the right as a tenant, basically. But you don't own the space yet because the title is not transferred over to you. You have not taken ownership at this time. Okay, occupancy is the period of time that you can obtain the keys and live in the space, but you do not own it yet. Currently, the developer still owns the unit. So during this period of time, I like to consider this time as you are renting from the developer at this time. Okay, that's what I like to say. Some people may or may not agree with this theory, but generally, this is the idea that I think. Because the developer currently owns the space, so you are renting it from them, and it's because you are renting it from them, you have to start paying what they call occupancy fees. Okay, now occupancy fee consists of three things. The first one is maintenance fee. So if you owned the condo, you'd have to pay maintenance fees anyways. Okay, so first one's maintenance fee. The second one is property tax. Again, if you owned this condo, you would have to pay property tax. So this is very normal. And the third one is the interest owed, interest on the balance owed towards the developer. You have paid 22% at this point in time. You owe the developer 78% at this time. So in this example, our maintenance fee is $520 per month. Our property tax is $317 per month, and our interest payment towards interest payment owed on 78% of the purchase price will be $19.50 per month. Okay, so you're in this example, it's about $27.87 per month on occupancy, and this occupancy period is between, you know, a good generalization is 3 to 6 months. Okay, I've seen this occupancy period only be 1 month. I've seen it not even happen. I've seen it be a year. So it really does vary on how long this period lasts, but it's not a very it's not a very costly thing for you. To be honest, the developer is going to want to close sooner because he wants his money. He wants closing to happen sooner because then he finally gets all of his money. Until closing happens, he ain't getting all of his money. Okay, I don't know why the government has decided that the process should be like this with occupancy and then closing, but it is like this. So during this time when people move in, the building is still usually under construction. The hallways are not finished, the elevator's not finished, amenities not finished. So within these 3 to 6 months, the developer will be finishing up the condo, and finally, when it's finished, we come to closing. Now, closing. In this case, I decided, September 13th, 2024. That's about 3 months that the closing date will be. Okay, so you've paid, rent for 3 months, which is not the end of the world. So you've paid rent for 3 months, and now finally you close the property, and you are going to be paying a bunch of stuff on closing. So on closing, what you expect to pay is legal fees and land transfer tax. These legal fees and land transfer tax, you will have to pay anyways, regardless, whatever property you buy in GTA, you're going to be paying these two fees. So if you were to buy an existing condo or house, you will have to pay legal fees and land transfer tax. This is exact, any existing property, you will have to pay these two fees. You cannot get away. Now for pre-construction, you have to pay even more, okay? So in pre-construction, we have carry-on warranty, we have development levies, 2 months of maintenance fee, adjustments on property tax, law society, utilities meter hookup, utilities adjustments, There's a bunch of fees. There's probably even more than what I listed here. But, it's just a lot of fees, but realistically, I will give you a balance at the end. In this example, it's $54,000 without the HST rebate and $78,000 with the HST rebate. So I'll go through these fees one at a time. So legal fees, of course, you need a lawyer to close the transaction and help you do the title search and transfer the title, so on and so forth. You can't really get away from that. That's going to be roughly about $1,500. Land transfer tax. So depending on the land transfer tax, that's a big portion of the closing. So land transfer tax, you can calculate it online, but if it's in Toronto, then you are paying 2 land transfer taxes. If it's in outside of Toronto, so either Markham, Richmond Hill, Mississauga, Vaughan, anything outside of the city of Toronto in the GTA, you're only paying 1 land transfer tax. Okay? In city of Toronto, it's 2 land transfer taxes. In outside of city of Toronto, in Ontario, it's only 1 land transfer tax. Damn, I can't talk. Carry-on warranty. Carry-on warranty is a warranty program for purchasers. They have to buy it. It protects you for up to 7 years. So when obtaining your condo, on the first year that you've obtained it, you get a warranty for, cosmetics, right? So that were not caused by the resident living there. So for example, If there's a crack on the wall that suddenly happens, I see this quite often actually, that, on the drywall, you will see a crack from the ceiling all the way to the baseboard. So that is protected by Tarion. Um, right when you get occupancy, right, there may be some paint touch-ups that you'll have to do, or like, scratches on the granite countertop, or, that is also protected by Tarion, which you can put into the 30-day form. 2 years is your electrical wiring and your plumbing. So you're protected by Tarion for 2 years for electrical and plumbing. 7 years is, major structural things for the condo. So it could be like exterior issues or foundation issues. I've never seen anybody use the 7-year or the 2-year Tarion program. Typically, developers always get this stuff right. But I have seen, the 1 year where it's about cosmetics and more, more about things that you think are an eyesore. I've seen this be used by purchasers. But 2-year and 7-year, I'd never really seen anybody claim those warranties. 2-month development levies, very, very, very big one. This is usually capped by developers on signing. So typically you can say that it's capped at $10,000, or it's capped at $12,000, or capped at $15,000. This is just saying that it will not be more than the capped amount. The development levy, why it's charged is because when the developer builds a condo, the government actually has to support the condo with, with a park, with some roads, light posts, water, electrical. So all this the government actually has to pay for. And so they end up charging the developer, and then the developer ends up charging you. So that's why there is this development levy in place. Sometimes I see this development levy be capped for all levies. That means includes park, education, and recreational levies. Sometimes it doesn't. It only caps some of the levies. So the development levies is very, very, very crucial. When you're looking into the contract within the 10-day cooling period, take a look at the development levy clause and see if they're fully capping all the levies, or if they're only partially capping some of the levies. It's very important to take a look at this, okay? Now, 2-month maintenance fee, 1 month is for the reserve fund contribution. So a reserve fund contribution is that in any given condo, there is a reserve fund, so that in case anything happens, the condo has money to pay for any damages that could occur during, during the time that the condo is built. So any floods, they have a reserve fund backup to support any damages or repairs that needs to be done. Adjustments on property tax. So for example, in our case, September 13th, 2024, you will not have to pay property tax for the whole year. You only have to pay from September till the end of the year. So you have to pay the 3 months of property tax. Law Society, honestly, I don't really know what that is. Ask the lawyer what that is, but I think it's only about $200. Utilities meter hookup. So in order to install the utilities and get it running, there's a charge for that. Utilities adjustments, etc., etc. So this is a list of the closing. This is not the whole entire list, but it's a lot, right? You can keep listing if it's only $10 each. Really, it sounds overwhelming, but it's, I like to put it all in a lump sum figure. So in our example, with $1 million in downtown Toronto, because we have to pay double land transfer tax, we're looking at a closing of $54,000 without the HST rebate portion. So $54,000, I think I was using $10,000 for development levies, and then land transfer tax hits us up quite heavy. I think it was about $40,000 in this case, because it's in downtown Toronto. So we're looking at double land transfer tax. each land transfer tax hit us up for about $20,000, so $40,000, and then development levy $10,000, $50,000, and then $4,000 for the remaining stuff. Sometimes the development levy can be zero, right? It can be $0. It does not have to be the whole capped $10,000 that I put. It could be $3,000. It could be $5,000. It really depends on closing. So you know, the worst case is $54,000. The best case is going to be about $44,000 in this case. Okay. Now, HST rebate portion, a very important part to talk about because a lot of people don't know this. Okay, so if you have decided to invest in this condo, okay, you will have to pay the HST rebate portion, and it is maximum $24,000. I believe if the purchase price is over $450,000, you will be paying $24,000 on the HST rebate portion. If you decided to live in this space, then you will not be required to pay the HST rebate portion. But if you decided to invest, then you have to pay the HST rebate portion and then apply to get it back. Okay, so if it's over $450,000, it's $24,000. You rent out the space, you show, and then you fill out a form, okay? And you apply to the government, you show them the lease agreement, you fill out that form, and then within 6 months, you will get majority of it back. I believe 98% of that money back, or 99%. So I don't know why the government has, you know, done that. You know, make you pay $24,000 and then apply to get it back. But that is how it works, and you have to take that into consideration when it comes to your cash flow and closing. Because yes, although you get it back, but you have to pay it first. So you know, $55,000 to pay $55,000 rather than $78,000 is a big difference. So it's very important to know that if you have decided to invest in a pre-construction condo, that you will have to pay an additional $24,000 and then apply to get it back. One thing that I did not mention in this timeline is when you can assign the unit. Okay, so typically for assignments, because you know a lot of people consider buying pre-construction and then flipping before closing date, because as you can see, closing in a $1 million condo, you have to pay $55,000 on closing if you live there, and $78,000 if you invested in it. So a lot of times people are like, you know what, I don't want to get the mortgage, I don't want to pay all these fees, I don't want to do this, I just want to sell the place before, you know. So anywhere, you know, from 2023 till the 2024, I would say would be your assignment period of time that you can sell it. It depends on the developer whether they're allowing you to assign at the time, but yeah, that's typically when you can assign. You know, sometimes I've seen you can assign 2 years after you purchase the condo. Sometimes I see 1 year, but you know, most developers, they want it closer to occupancy and when all the deposits are paid. Okay, so I believe with Concord, right, I've done assignments with them. They want you only after occupancy can you assign the unit. So only until you get the keys can you assign the unit. So it really depends per developer. Okay, so afterwards, after you've closed the property, right, what kind of expenses can you expect? You will start paying maintenance fee, property tax, and your mortgage payments. Okay, so this mortgage payment is actually going to be more than your occupancy, the interest, you know, that you owe to the developer, and that's because now you're paying towards your loan. In our example here, our loan is $780,000. So every month you're paying $3,281. That's paying off your $780,000, which is why this mortgage payment is more than the interest towards the developer payment, because now you're actually paying towards your loan as well. So in our example, after you've closed the property and you bought this $1 million condo, you're expected to pay about $4,100 per month. One thing I also forgot to mention is that on occupancy, most of the time the developer will allow you to lease the place. Okay, so just because you're started, just because you given the right to live there, it doesn't mean you're not allowed to rent out the space. Most time you are allowed to rent out the space. Make sure the developer puts it in writing that you are allowed to rent out the space on occupancy. So that's it for today, guys. That is the end of this video. I hope you guys liked it. And I'll be coming up with more videos like this in the future. I will do a resale and assignment one to give you guys an understanding of how the process works when buying a condo for resale and assignments. Check out my next video about this stuff, and I look forward to hearing from you guys soon. So if you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up. Please like the video and subscribe to me. And if you have any questions, you can always reach me at 647-991-2226. And yeah, thank you for watching this, and take care.